underwear or anything of that ilk. Oh shit! Oh fuck!
Hey, welcome.
All right, I think we're on the air. Oh boy, yep, on screen. Oh god, Plum's here. Then that's right up against the prostate. All right, so hey, I'm Ponky. This is Skirts.
Hi.
Yeah, that Skirts is, man of little words.
Yeah, I wrote End of Ponies and other crap like that sucks.
Mm-hmm. You like to kill yourself daily on a daily basis with words just hammered out of your brain spleen.
Yeah, you really liked that, didn't you, Ponky? You loved you loved End of Ponies. Big fan.
Baby, you know what I love. So this is, believe it or not, this is episode 1 of Princess Robot, the podcast where the bar gets lower every week. What? No, that's not it.
That's our theme song. I don't think I told you yet that I'd written a theme song for us, but
you've written a theme. What does it have lyrics to it?
No, it doesn't. I'll
okay.
Here. Let's
go on. Show the world.
Can you hear my how does my
ocarina sound? Is that your ocarina? Go on ahead.
Yeah, it's my ocarina.
Okay, go.
Play
it.
Let's see. Oh man, I don't remember any of the music.
Sound like the
give me one of the songs to do.
What, give you a song to do?
Yeah, one of Link's songs.
Enter Sandman. No, you mean one of the Zelda ones.
Yeah, one of the Zelda ones.
The healing song from Majora's Mask.
Oh, geez. Yeah. All right. So that was the end of that fun section.
Now we're getting
let's go into all of these delightful questions that people ask.
Well, okay. First off, forgive us. This is we're starting out, and if anything, this is probably going to mount to 2 little kids on YouTube, and then their Scottish mom like ducks her head into the room, is like, who took a massive shit and forgot to flush the toilet? It's fucking disgusting, and they just turn it off at random. We don't know how long this is going to
go to flush the toilet like that.
We don't know how long.
That was more Irish, I guess, than Scottish. But
that was better than I fucking did. But we have an AMA thing kind of arranged here, and we're just going to treat it kind of like a double punkology, so to speak, only with a bit of a Skirts viral influence.
Yes, exactly. Ponka Skirts.
Do you notice the title? Longtime no Melodious. You see what I did there?
Oh, I didn't notice that, but now that I do see what you did there. Actually, probably later we will we'll get to one of my favorite questions here that we might talk about that a little bit more.
Right. We don't really have a system and plan. We definitely don't have a flutter piece or a mass ferret here, so it's going to be kind of schizophrenic, to say the least. But I would like to frame it a little bit in case for those who don't entirely follow us. We're 2 jackholes who write horse words on fan fiction. I've been doing it since 2011. You've been doing it since 2012, right?
Yes, that's right.
We both relatively the same.
Recently, your 6 years, wasn't it? Your 6 years was on September 28th.
Yeah, someone commented on that on one of the blogs, like, happy 6 years. Like, what is it? Oh, 28th, right, whatever. Moving on, farting. Yeah. So that's kind of how we gotten some sort of notoriety on the internet, so to speak. And we continue to write horse words to some extent, some more or less than others, some with more or less.
Oh gosh, yeah, some daily.
You've been doing lots of writing.
Maybe monthly.
What have you been doing in general this week, Ponky?
Just working. I've got a lot of work. Work every day, 9 to 5 kind of a thing. I work at a bank, but just today I had an adventure.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, my wife and I bought a car. We bought our first car, and that was surprising and exciting. Her family so her family always shops at this one specific place about 2 hours from here that sells Volkswagens. And so many years ago, they bought a 2005 Beetle, a black Beetle, and Ash drove that all through high school. And then when she married me, we kind of both started driving this same car. And
the wife's name is Ash, not the Beetle.
That's correct. The wife's name is Ash. The Beetle never had a name. We just called it the Bug. But I loved it. I loved that car, and it was great, but it just was old. It was 10 years old. We drove it a ton. And so it stopped starting very well in the cold months. Just when it
gets
freezing
cold in
in the
Utah.
morning.
Surely you jest.
Oh my goodness, yeah. When it gets super cold up here in the mountains, the car just wouldn't start at all. And so we knew we needed a new car, and we were debating whether we should just get kind of a crappy one that would just get us through the winter, or if we should invest in a nicer car. And so we went up north to that same place that her parents bought the Bug all those years ago. And we bought a Volkswagen Golf, which, funny enough, is the car that I have always wanted. It was the car that my dad had when I was a little tiny kid. So just in my head, the Golf was like what a car was, you know? And so there was a 2015 black Golf, and we bought it, and I couldn't be happier. I'm super excited.
My family had a Volkswagen. It was a van again, so it was like after the hippie camper thing, but it was like, you know, the little diarrhea tubes that people would drive around in the 80s. And that thing lasted us to like the mid 90s. It was a gorgeous vehicle, compact, but you said tons of people in it and stuff. And it's, you know, kind of like an SUV. You can see high from, you know, your vantage point in the road. And I drive an SUV, and I can't imagine going like a sports car or something. Is like I feel like a little person on a Segway.
I'm so happy about the Golf. It's everything that we wanted, because I really like hatchbacks. And when I say that, what I'm talking about are like Fiats or just small European cars with the flat back. I think that looks really good. But when I said the word hatchback, when I was talking to my wife, she always thought I was talking about some kind of big SUV or a bigger vehicle. And so the Golf turned out to be this perfect meeting place, that it's really small and compact and easy to drive, good gas mileage, but it has the look of what I wanted. So like I said, because it was my dad's car when I was a little kid, it was one of these questions asks, what's your dream car? And mine was literally a black Volkswagen Golf, just because that's what I thought a car was when I was a little kid. And now I own one as of today. And that's just a really exciting, I don't know, it's like, it's a step into adulthood that I didn't really foresee more than a week ago. And it's thrilling.
And once you're European, you don't get the stain out, do you?
That's exactly right. Yeah. After living a couple of years in Italy, I can't stop wearing skinny jeans, and I don't want a big car.
Man, you always wore skinny jeans. I'm sure of that. I never even seen you. I know for a fact you came out of the womb wearing skinny jeans.
That is true, but I had to have those surgically removed.
Fucking work at a Plato's Closet, for Christ's sake.
I did. That's true.
Yes,
I forgot about that.
I know that. By the way, this is not exactly a safe for work podcast, and not to, you know, to suggest we're going to be talking about like clitoridectomizing like grandmothers or anything. It's not exactly PG. What? No, what's wrong with that? You didn't go to Sudan. All right. Anything else this week for you?
Not for me. What about you? Any big events at the old stop of games?
Oh, you know, I don't think I ever told most of the public exactly where it is I sell video games, but okay. Assholes blown out on stream. Who cares? I don't care.
In several, well, maybe it was back a long time ago. I don't know if you have recently.
You do.
But I learned through blogs, through your quote unquote cryptic blogs.
Oh, see, you have to write enough horse words that you forget all the stuff you've committed to or not over the years.
Exactly, yeah. You've written so much that there's no way you could remember all of it.
But what did I do? I mean, I worked retail. Got like about half of my coworkers are Puerto Rican, so that's a little depressing. But in general, I've been doing regular dailies, been doing Apple Dash Free, which nobody reads, and Oferoti, both of which suck, but at least I'm writing them. That's what matters.
That is what matters. And I'm sure when I get to them, I'll disagree.
I've done 2 really crappy shipping one-shots. I did one about a week ago, and I did one like about 40 minutes before today's stream. I am attempting, although I'm not doing very well at it, but I'm attempting to do 2 one-shots a week for the month of October. I'm trying to recreate the magic of October 2014, where I like wrote like a gazillion different like one-shots out of some weird manic energy. So far so good, but
yeah, you seem to be a big believer in that kind of surge of focused energy that you have to kind of refill every once in a while.
Force it can't always work the way it's supposed to, but other people, yeah, that's right, Prop Master, One-Shot-tober. Other people doing Inktober, and including like Ronstein, whose Discord group I'm a part of, very cool individual, and so I'm like, I can do that text-wise. Wait, no, I can't. But I've managed to do at least 2 stories so far, so I'm working on it.
That's great. I think that's a cool tradition.
I beat XCOM 2, and sorely tempted to buy more stupid pinball tables on Pinball Arcade so I can get more people to watch that really boring Twitch stream. But
whatever makes you happy,
or at least tepid. So we have 3 categories of questions: one for both, one group for skirts and one group for Ponky. Not to toot my own horn, but I think the questions for skirts are more polynumerous only because I have a fucking Discord group that I, forwarded it to. So
Definitely.
we're going to try to split this up, I suppose, where like we ask each other like the questions posed that was done both in blog or in Discord group, and then just carry it on from there. Cannot promise we're going to get to every question, but we're going to try to be thorough about this. We don't want to go too long with this thing, although if last evening when we practiced, quote unquote practiced, was any indication, it might go on for 2 minutes
for a long time. Yeah.
So you want to split it up where, like, I guess you ask something, I ask something, then we do a both question?
Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm going to be asking skirts my favorite questions that you guys wrote, and then conversely, skirts will ask me a question that you guys wrote that he thinks is either funny or genuinely interesting. And then we'll do a question for the both of us and just kind of chat. And we'll see how long we can keep that cycle up. Indeed. So the first one I wanted to ask you is, it's from Floydian. And he asks, are there any more lemur rambles or retrospective blogs on the way? Which is also a question that I frequently ask.
Okay, you fucking...
Yeah, I'm just using the arsenal that I've been given to ask the questions that I would have asked anyway.
I do want to do that, but you have to understand it kind of requires you to get into like a manic zone. The first time I did it, I was not exactly in a cheerful position. It was the beginning of this year, and I put off Australia and Apodashery. Nobody cares. And wasn't writing a whole ton of stuff, and so I felt like I just really needed it. I guess I felt nostalgic, and I felt like I wanted to pour over like the stuff I'd done in the past and sort of like do like a reboot or something. And I had this idea for a long time of doing like a retrospective on not just how I got started writing, but the whole atmosphere, the whole attitude that got me into writing, like for Pony to begin with. Because I wish I could share that sort of enthusiasm with other people. And so that became the 2011 Lemurific Odyssey. I think it was posted in February or something. And it was fantastic because it pulled you out of the fucking gutter, and we were able to be like a chat, and we hung out with people online and Discord. And so it kind of got me the confidence boost that I needed for a while. Granted, I didn't really make anything of it until April, but it's still really cool. I don't really have as much need for that now, as stupid as it sounds, because I got a Discord group, you and I are chatting, and I'm producing material, even if it's not the best. But I do have ideas, and I think the other night, maybe about a week ago, I was thinking hardcore about it. I was like pacing around Sedna, just kind of listening to music and trying to get into the idea of like what it'd be to write that. And that's why I put that one cryptic blog up of contemplating, I think, and I had like a clip from the 2012 movie and some other stuff that was basically
my sketch of Lyra's started hoodie. And
because if I do another one of those things, I'm still stuck in between whether I want to make it a blog about a background pony, a blog about Australia, a blog about both, or split it up, because there's a lot to talk about that year, although I don't think it'll be nearly as nifty a blog as, no offense, as 2011, just because what I was able to capture.
That blog, and people are already agreeing with me here in the comments, but that blog was amazing. And you're absolutely right. It did pull me out of the gutter. I ended up writing. It started out as kind of a response, and then, sort of also remembering 2011. And then it turned into just like something that I really needed to do, where I really just bore my soul and just talked about how I feel about what I've done recently and what I haven't done. And that was really important for me. And I know that Props joined in. Several people felt inspired by that and also did similar retrospective things.
Yeah, like Vember came out. Vember came out of the shadows as well.
Yeah, Vember wrote a big comment about it, kind of showing his side of the story. It was great. Yeah, that was so much fun, and it really sort of lit a fire, or I guess maybe just kindled it, just reminded people of a fire that was already there. And that was great. I think we were all really happy that you did that. And whether or not the next one is as revolutionary, the most interesting part is looking into your head, because you're such a fascinating character. So being able to see that history laid out so clearly the way that you did is really fascinating.
Open it up, it's all pink. If I did do another blog like that, I would probably make a Google, do like a link above the line break, where I would or the page break I should say, where it would be a link to Google where you can see like a non-cluttered version of it. So if you can't bring up the damn blog on your phone or whatever,
Yeah,
then
it
you
was
can at least be able to read it or something like that. That's probably what to do.
heavy lifting as far as the internet was concerned.
It took me about like a week to put together that Lemur Rift blog. It took a long time, and so it's not something I can do overnight. So I have to get off my lazy ass. Maybe this podcast will inspire me. I don't know, but yeah, well, I want to do it.
The one that you did was great, and I'm sure we're all really happy that you did it.
So I didn't go through and parse through and choose questions. Just, really like you.
Just skim
to pull one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. People asking questions. I can't choose a troll one out of the gate. Here's one. Quila, as you would say.
Quila
asks, "How's life in Utah? So close to me and yet so far away."
Oh, Quila. I don't know if you're here. I haven't seen you say anything. If you are,
they're here in spirit.
Yeah. Regardless, you know, I don't like living in Utah. I really don't. There are a lot of things to enjoy about my particular situation right now. I like the house that I live in. Ash and I are renting like a whole house, and so we don't have neighbors stuck to our walls, and it's just really, that part of it is really nice. It's I don't know. I live in a tiny town. It's very quiet. It's pretty peaceful. It's giving me a lot of time to come up with ideas, and so like in a lot of ways I like where I am, but boy, it's going to be fun. And I keep catching myself daydreaming about the future and where we'll go next and what we'll do. And so in answer to that, the simple answer to that question is that life in Utah is mostly boring, but also I think it's important. I think this part of my life it feels important, and that's good. That keeps me going.
That was nice and simple.
How was that? Was that a nice?
It certainly satisfied
nice wrap. Great, good. That's all I wanted.
Now I guess we do a both question. How do we do this? I put my tentacle against the glass. You put your hand. We draw a circle like an arrival.
Okay. My weird flesh mitten hand. That's how Ponky is always drawn.
Amy Adams' hand.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Nice arrival reference.
Yeah. Fuck. Let's just do the first one. Podcast question: what's an average day in the life of an internet star? Ask Keybrew. Is it scheduled in any general format, or do you just let the wind take you where it wants to go? Well, that's taking a lot of assumptions there, is it not?
It is. That's what I was going to say, is that first of all, me at least, I would never consider myself an internet star.
Well, you used to be. You gave out the Punkologies, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, literally like 4 or 5 people watched the Punkologies, so that doesn't constitute a star. But you definitely, I don't really have any sort of format as far as what I do and post online. I don't have any rhyme or reason to things. I try sometimes, but I just don't. You, on the other hand, are famous for how consistent you are with your dailies.
Hold on, I'm looking up something. What was the Ditsy Do song that you sang for?
Bright Eyes?
Bright Eyes, right. Fucking, there it is. I popped in Ditsy Do song on YouTube. It's the first thing that came up. It has 85,000 hits.
Does it really?
Yeah, it sure does. Look out, London. In the centrifuge.
Well, that's very interesting.
How about Space is a Waste?
I always forget about that, about the songs, and I wish that I could do more, and people ask me to. I even have a question on here. Somebody, I think it was Austria Fact Checker, actually.
Oh boy.
That asked me if I could do a professional cover or a better cover of The Boxer. That Simon and Garfunkel song. And I would love to do stuff like that. I would love to write more songs, record more songs, post more songs. But right now, I just honestly don't have the means. Every time that I have been able to post a song online, it's because I've gotten the help of a friend who has decent recording equipment. And where I live, I don't. Yeah, Bo. I don't have anything here. So that will happen, and I would love to post more but that's something, I mean, that's not around the corner by any means.
I love Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, I
And
know you do. Yeah.
you're freaking talented as all hell, but how do you do a solo, a boxer? You have to have like harmony, don't you? I mean,
yes, that's
really
a great point. I love to do it on the piano, and I think that the reason that it works is because I sing it really differently than Simon and Garfunkel performed it. Simon and Garfunkel are famous for their voices because they're so beautiful and they work so well together in harmony. And that song has this really calm feeling from their voices, even though it has a really driving rhythm. So what I do when I cover it is just bring that rhythm to the voice and that drive into my own voice, and have the accompaniment toned down so that it kind of reverses the roles.
You know
so
what?
My voice becomes the power while the piano is more calm.
You know what? You could fucking rock. You could fucking rock a Bridge Over Troubled Water. That's the song. You sing like you mean it, you know?
Yeah, that was the first compliment that you ever gave me, was that I sing like I mean it.
Rod Stewart. Your Space is a Waste video on Piano Ponky has 10,000 views, by the way.
No, it does not.
Yeah, it does. Want me to link you?
10,000 views?
I'll link it in the chat. And I assure you it's not me. It was not me listening 10,000 times.
That's insane. That's just a silly little song literally about you.
It's a good song, regardless of the subject matter. It's like, you know, it's like saying that Willem Dafoe did a great performance, but fuck Temptation of Christ, you know? Anyway, you gotta be older. Be older. So what's the next?
Sorry.
Okay, so no, you're asking me something now.
Sure.
Okay.
This one's from Props, our good buddy Props, who we both love. Looking back, Skirts, did you realize going in how long you'd be working on Austria? And did you think you'd be able to maintain it at the pace you have been going?
Well, probably no and no, which is why I did on an imploding colon instead of Short Skirts and Explosions, for a couple different reasons, but mainly because I didn't think that it was going to. I didn't know if it was going to last, and so if I put on Short Skirts and Explosions and I committed to it, well, people are going to be spammed with it like crazy because it'd be updating every day. And at the time, I felt that was like rude. Like now, I don't give a shit. But back in the day, like I can't do that. And even if I did, if I would have to make it worth in the long run, meaning I had to commit to finishing the whole thing. And the concept was so large that I didn't really think I would do it. It was like an experiment to see if I can get the ball rolling. I had some faith that it would be like repeating These Black Eyes in terms of people like latching onto it. And sure enough, by about August or September, it did. C Squared and Pilot, you know, His and Her Highness made the Skype chat about it, and Noble Jury was born. And from then on, I knew that I had a dedicated like family, so to speak. So
that's interesting. So part of you knew that was going to happen just because, or at least wanted it to happen.
Yeah, wanted it to happen, but to be realistic, I couldn't expect it. So that was one of the reasons why I made on an alt.
Yeah, my question building off of this one from Props is, did you, I mean, Austria is huge, the story is gigantic, but I happen to know that you didn't originally intend to write 12 books. So when did you realize, oh my gosh, this is going to be gargantuan?
I don't remember when the 6 to 12 decision was made. I felt like it was done before End of It Ear, like before book 3. It was until the end of Elgin Biro that I realized that the pacing was completely off. And if I had stuck to like the 5 or I think originally I wanted 5 books. And then I thought, well, no, sometimes why, lol, so 6. And I was going to go with like the whole like vowel, every letter, every word, every title begins with a different vowel. So I'd be 6 instead of say 5. But then at some point, and I'm guessing it may have been around Elgin Biro, I realized this is going to take longer. And you know what? I'm having fun with this. Fuck it. Let's go 12. Let's just double that number because I love the number 12. And I love the idea of, I want to say symmetry, because I mean, it's not really followed that way with the actual book. I mean, the stuff that happens in like book 8, you would think would be happening in book 6 if I was talking symmetry, but no, it technically, I won't go into spoilers, but the books 6 and 7 hinge on a major turning point. And that's where the symmetry is at. So I wanted this idea of like sort of, you know, rising up and going down and everything's cyclical, and that's going to makes sense in ways that a lot of people probably don't quite expect at this point, even though I dropped a gazillion hints. But yeah, I like the idea of circles. Even back when I wrote the Teen Titans, These Black Eyes fic was all about circles and circular narrative and shit. And so I like that idea of the journey and the return. So that's what it's all about.
Turn back again.
So it's like not just 6, it's 6 graduating to 6 returning, and that's why I'd like to double it. I mean, that's the best explanation I can give.
No, it's great. Yeah, I love that. I love that that the whole thing wasn't planned. Like you knew this idea, this story, this journey, but the journey itself expanded and ballooned into.
I figured I would fill it up, and I did. That's what happens.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so cool. Okay, cool, great. Thanks for that answer. Go ahead and ask me something.
Our turn. So let's see. I'm gonna ask you this one because I'm not sure if it even is a question or not. I may have copied it wrong, but it feels like it opens up to a good conversation point. Rosgrees S57 apparently says we should into video games more often. I presume he might be suggesting that you should be streaming video games more often, perhaps.
That's funny. I did stream Bloodborne a couple of times.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was super fun.
Oh, I watched that one time, and that epic moment when like you fell off the elevator and this like enemy face plants after you, like suicidally dies.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah. So you're good at Bloodborne. Why not play more of that and show the wonderful, okay?
Yeah, it is fun. And every time I sit down to play it and think, oh, maybe this time I'll stream it, something happens. I get invested, or I think about, oh, well, I have to grind for this or whatever, or I start failing a lot, and I just don't. So I haven't streamed at all since you were watching. But I should. I will. It was a lot of fun for me. I think actually what I'll probably end up doing is making a new character and streaming.
Specifically for the stream?
Yes, exactly. Specifically for the stream, and starting from the beginning and just streaming whenever I play, whether or not people are watching. I think that would be a lot of fun.
You should make one starring that character I shared in the screenshot that I saw, like on Discord, where like they made the Bloodborne character look like the dude from Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, yeah, he did look like Eustace, and he had his mallet.
Yeah,
yeah, that was hilarious. I would love to make some weird looking character, kind of based on suggestions of whoever is watching at the time, and then just go crazy. I think that would be a lot of fun, and I might not even do it soon. But that is something that I think would be a blast, and I'll be sure to let the Wonderfolk know when that is coming up.
I could have sworn someone else asked in some chat, like if you and I would be doing some sort of multiplayer Bloodborne or Dark Souls thing.
Yeah.
Forgive me for my ignorance. Is that something you can actually do, like a 2-player co-op? Because I've seen bits and pieces. Like I watched the Edward Emberpants thing, and it looks very weird.
Edward Emberpants is hilarious.
But like you have to.
Yeah. Okay. So that's props. That's props that keep suggesting that, and that's actually one of the both questions. So we can just use this as.
Yeah. Sure.
Props did ask, when will we see you guys do multiplayer Dark Souls / Bloodborne and do boss runs together? So the idea, especially, I'm not a huge fan of Dark Souls just because Bloodborne was my first, and Bloodborne is a very aggressive game, while Dark Souls is much more methodical and sort of practiced and patient. And so if we did something together, I would make you do Bloodborne also because I think that would be funnier.
That's equally doable as Dark Souls, you're saying.
Yes, definitely. And the idea is that hunters have bells. Hunters are your player character. They have bells.
Can't be a bell. Damn
it. Bells that they ring that can cross over dimensions, and so they're like pulling hunters from other dimensions, which are literally just other playthroughs by your friends. So I could ring a bell in a specific place and have a password on my game. You would put in the same password and ring your bell, your corresponding bell, and then we would go into each other's games. Wow. And so I think it would be so hilarious, and I actually really like this idea, but I don't know if it'll ever happen, that I would buy it for you or whatever.
Well, considering where I work, I could very easily grab a vanilla copy of
That's true. You could very easily grab a copy. And you could you'd have to get through quite a bit of the game on your own before I would be able to jump into your game.
God damn it.
But it would be so funny because you would not do well.
Yeah,
Not
right.
because of a lack of talent or anything like that, just because it's so hard at the beginning. And you would get, and so what we would do is both be talking to each other, and I would just be watching your game while we're recording this from a long distance. And I think that'd be freaking so funny. But again, literally, like technologically, that would be quite a feat.
I mean, it'd be doable. I mean, I got a Twitch for streaming too. I just, contrary to popular belief, and I'm sure it's evident now, I'm not really much of a showman. It's why I have like people like Props Force and Almaeus in charge of Lemur Cave, because I suck at the whole admin thing and just being like overall like in the spotlight. So,
but you're a magnetic personality, whether you want to be or not, and that would be a great series.
You bet your tits. But I could see myself doing that, but the hard part is getting the energy to actually set up like a schedule and commit to it. But we did this, so it's not impossible, you know. We just have to find a day when
it could happen.
We have to find a day when we're not retailing or wifing, you know.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
But yeah, I'd be up for that if you are. I know how much you love it, and I would be like the Dan to your Aaron, sort of like
yeah, I guess.
Infinidagger!
Infinidagger!
Let's do another both question, because that one was kind of cheating.
Yeah, sure.
This one, and I feel stupid already. Famous, which might be I think this is from the Discord group, but it could be famous last words, possibly. Asking, what are your guys' favorite '90s jams, and why should it be something by Blink 182 or Third Eye Blind?
I've never ever heard Third Eye Blind. I like a couple of Blink 182 songs just because, well, just one really, just the one really famous one, because it talks about Jack and Sally, and Nightmare Before Christmas is my favorite movie.
Well, but you go on. Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, I don't know. It's hard. I was born in 1993, so it's very hard for me to say what my favorite '90s jams was, because I was 7 when the '90s ended.
And I was sheltered in the '90s, so it's hard for me too. That's my
right. I didn't know music. I didn't listen to things. I was the oldest child. I didn't have any older siblings that were interested in pop music. My parents certainly didn't care. And
yeah,
like I don't know. I know freaking. Smash Mouth. Is that
that was God, that was like 98, 99. That was when Shrek came out. I possibly get into '90s stuff, primarily like early '90s. I have a love for like super fucking early '90s, like really '80s part 2, but we got more African American like artistic motifs and everything version of the '90s, before like Nirvana came in and said, no, this is how you do it, fuckers. And so I like say I think like Wilson Phillips and then like and clips from like like, you know, I want to say like MC Hammer, and when Michael Jackson was starting to lose his steam, and so everyone else is trying to pick up the slack and stuff. That early '90s stuff I just kind of enjoy, because everything's so synthesized and garbage but fun. It's so optimistic and like party. late '90s was when I finally started paying attention, and by that time it was too late, and they're just playing Creed all the time on the radio.
Right.
So I was like, fuck this. What's something that's kind of cool and mystic and somewhat edgy that I can worship in place of the dead god? Oh, Radiohead. Thank you. Come into my life, Radiohead.
There you go.
And so Radiohead was my jam, along with Pink Floyd in the '90s. And so I could just say, oh, listen to OK Computer, and that's all you need to know about the '90s. That's the only album that ever came out. It's all we care about. OK Computer.
Yeah, I love '80s music. I think it's my favorite ever. There's something about it that really resonates with me, and it makes me really happy. And also probably that's what my mom listens to all the time. It was 70s and 80s music. And so that's just those are the first things that I listened to that made me, you know, feel things and get excited. So I don't know '90s music very well, which is kind of a bummer, I guess, because there's just so many crappy, funny songs that come from that era.
I want to make Floydian happy in chat and say yes, Petra, but you know that Petra is a weird guilty pleasure. Petra, you can argue that maybe they really sucked in the '90s, but they emulated everything they could in order to get their sound across. I think it's your turn to ask a Skirts question, and we're in rotation again.
Okay. This one's from Durandana, our resident I don't know, wise man.
It
I
was
always feel
that.
like the way that he presents himself is kind of this like distanced wise man with a really weird sense of humor. I love that.
Maybe he's one of the three.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, look at that. It's a real subtle reference there. Do you suspect, Skirts, that girls are actually evolved from cats?
Well, pussy got a pussy.
Ooh!
What's the look
All
on
right.
your wife right now? Um,
Next,
I can get close to cats, so I know for a fact that they're not women. That's all I can
nice,
say.
nice self-deprecating humor.
Hmm. All right, well that ends that.
That is that.
Way to go. That's some 60-minute shit right there. Let's get to the meat of it. Oh God, who asked this question? I feel horrible because some of this stuff I copied from Discord, and either if someone asked two questions in a row, I lost the name. I think Floyd may have asked this, and maybe he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a question for you, and it says, Ponky, which one of your stories are you most proud of, least proud of, and why the removal of the brothers don't?
Ooh, those are good questions.
They are good questions.
The story that I mean, above and beyond by far the most proud of is Through the Looking Glass and What Pinky Found There. I think that's some of my finest writing I've ever done. It's funny, it's fast-paced, it's insanely clever, if I can say so.
Yes, you can.
It's just like, I couldn't believe how well it worked, that all the things that I loved. Oh, it's Zappinator. Zappinator asked that question.
Prop says it was him, isn't it? Oh, no, Zap fucking stole Floyd's thunder. God damn it. Fucking Canuck. Oh my God.
I totally saw his before I asked Floyd. Whatever. Okay, so thank you both for your lovely.
What are you thinking both of them? It's like one of them is fake,
both,
the other one is.
They're both good people. That's why.
Oh boy. Props is trying to correct it because he's a nice person.
Good job, Floydian. Thank you.
Splitting the family apart.
Yeah, I'll specifically and directly thank Floydian Slip for this wonderful question.
God.
And I'll also compliment Zappinator on his consistent and cool avatar. So I love Through the Looking Glass What Pinky Found There because I was able to combine all of these things that I loved. Some for a long time, like Lewis Carroll, and others very recently, like My Little Pony. And just that it fit so well that I don't know. I was brand new to fan fiction. The Sisters Do was taking off, and I had this wild idea to like split the story and have these two stories that were running simultaneously to each other, and you had to read both. I don't know, for some reason I thought that was really cool. And I did it, and I like it. And even though The Sisters Do has been read more than twice as much as Through the Looking Glass and What Pinky Found There, I think it's a great addendum to the story. I think it adds a lot to the lore. And just by itself, too, it's clever. And when I go back and read it, I'm always just like shaking my head in awe of my past self and what I was able to accomplish. So very proud of that one. I'm least proud of a story called, what did I even call it? It's a human story. It's not a human and Equestria story. It's just a straight up human story. I think it's called Unhealthy Obsession. And it was born of a good idea. I had this idea of a guy that was living in the real world and saw the ponies, like had these hallucinations of them in his waking life. And they were sometimes helpful, sometimes distressing when he was in a more, important situation in his real life. And I don't know, I just tried too many things with it. If I had focused on one idea, I think it could have been okay and short. But as I often do, I just kind of went off the rails, and I had way too many ideas about all these weird psychological things that were happening to him and other characters, and it just got messy. And I'm really not proud of that. I'm really disappointed in myself for what I tried to do and just ended up completely failing and leaving alone. But the removal of The Brothers Don't was purely a story inspired by Skirts dailies in an effort to rev myself back up. I really wanted to finish Mantles. I just had this obsession of finishing Mantles. and I couldn't do it. And so I started this stupid, pointless, mindless story called The Brothers Don't that was literally just a play on The Sisters Do, my only popular story. And it didn't make any sense. I didn't have anywhere that it was going. Every chapter was just written on the fly. I didn't have any overarching plan.
It was your appledashery.
Yeah, sure, yeah. And maybe it was more inspired by that, even though I've never read it. But in the end, it just didn't work. I did finish Mantles, and as soon as I was able to get myself hooked back on finishing that, I just abandoned The Brothers Don't and deleted it because I didn't like it. It didn't matter to me. It didn't make sense, and it accomplished its purpose. So
yeah, you exercise your brain noodle, I suspect.
Yeah, so that was the reason for that.
Which was a story of yours where it kind of ended on this somber tone of like the human and I think a pony like stuck on a desert island and nowhere to go. Like
oh yeah, that was one of the
freaking genie.
Yes, that was one of the freaking genie stories. I think that was the second one, which is set in the world of Friendship is a Witchcraft by Sherlock
Okay.
And at the end of it, it was completely ripped off from Blue Shift's story about the Smooze. And
I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, there's at the end of that story, Lyra is on the top of a hill and has this wonderful moment. And I just sort of like made the opposite of that. So me, Ponky, is sitting on the top of this hill with Spike, who in this universe is very abused because it's the Friendship is Witchcraft universe.
Oh, right, and yeah.
All the whole story, Ponky has been. I think that's what happened. I don't really remember. I might be getting this wrong, but what the feeling that I remember is that Ponky has tried to be nice to Spike this whole time because he feels bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, by that point, he has kind of just fallen into the same rut of being abusive to this Spike character. And I thought that was so hilarious, but but I didn't. I don't know. It didn't matter. It wasn't important in any way.
Freudian slip comment. I still miss My Little Xyloto. Same film fiction has a lyrics rule. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I am rewriting My Little Xyloto. I'm actually going to finish it. What I've done is I've gone through and removed the lyrics, and I'm just writing the story inspired by the story that I have always seen in my head when I listen to that album.
Which I think is probably the
My Little Xyloto. Yeah, I think it'll make for a better story. I think it'll challenge me and make it more interesting. Mm-hmm. And I'll definitely
do like YouTube link.
I'm gonna wait.
Author's notes, maybe.
Yeah, I am gonna just keep that. Anyway, I think I'll keep that, and I don't think that I'll get in trouble for it because I think that's an interesting and kind of fun part of the story. But I'm going to finish the whole thing before I publish it, so I don't know when that'll happen. It might be by the end of this year. It might be early next. But it is something that's in the works that I work on a little bit every day, and so the whole story will be published at once. I don't know, sometime in the nearish future.
My Little Xyloto is the most disappointing thing since the birth of my son.
Oh my gosh!
So, now it's a both time, isn't it? The both question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Here's one. This is from Props, of all people. What is one funny, weird, cool holiday tradition that you participate in, either with your family or solo? An example, I always watch MASH holiday episodes around Christmas.
Holiday tradition. You go ahead and go first. I'm going to think about this one.
I don't celebrate holidays. God is dead. I work retail.
Cool.
Sometimes, like around March 28th, March 22nd, springtime, right? The start of spring. I either listen to like Band on the Run, the Paul McCartney and Wings album, in order to remind me of like some of the stuff I got into in like summertime, and then also I try to go back and reminisce over These Black Eyes, because that Teen Titans fanfic I started that in March 22nd, March 23rd, 2004. So to me, that's like a red letter date. That story means so much to me.
Hey, that's Pop's birthday.
Oh, damn. Okay. I'm a good friend.
Speaking of circles, yeah.
He was born the day I started These Black Eyes. Don't you know that?
The very day.
2004. The very day he came out. No, and then around April 1st, I've always try to do something on FemFic except for this year because I guess it was too down in the dumps. But you know, I'll try and make up for it next year, presumably.
Yeah, you'll do a double dose.
Oh, and of course, when it hits autumn, you know, every time the autumn hits in Florida, which is usually December 30th, when the air cools down for once and humidity goes away for those 2 or 3 precious months that it's gone, I get inspired to do a gazillion different things. And one of them is play Majora's Mask, because I played that like in fall of 2000. That kind of, you know, gets me in the mood for that. And sometimes I want to play World of Warcraft and other stuff as well, listen to certain types of music. It hits me differently every year. It gets super nostalgic, but it hasn't hit yet, so it probably won't be happening until November or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. And the older I get, and well, I guess what it really is the more that I have to look back on, the more experiences of my own that I make, I understand that better.
Lexicon Spark is asking, what the fuck is with that elf and the April Fool's thing? We're not going to talk about that.
What is that?
If you get far enough, you'll know. If you haven't read them, maybe under Short Scraps and Explosions, I put the April 1st chapter of Australia.
You're talking about,
yeah, we don't talk about them.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
We don't talk about them.
We're not allowed to talk about on this stream.
That's the one rule. We don't talk about that elf.
Oh my god, that's so funny. I completely forgot that was literally our one rule.
You know who he is, everyone else doesn't. But he's made cameos, because that was originally what I was going to do with the end of.
Props does. Looks like Props isn't in the
Props might. Floyding probably does, but he and Force are, you know, they're a cool couple. They don't expose stuff. So fuck. What is it now? I think you're asking a question.
I could answer a little bit about this holiday thing.
Oh God, sorry. Go on. I apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. I really don't have a lot to say about it. The specific question says, "What is one funny / weird / cool holiday tradition that you participate in?" I don't really have anything special, but I think what I'm going to say here is that I'm excited that I'm starting to do things that are special. Now that I'm married and with Ash, her family celebrates things in a different way than mine did, and it just puts a new twist on all of these very familiar feelings. So I get to have a different idea of Thanksgiving and a different idea of Christmas, and there's something really magical about that when these things that are already exciting but feel quite normal become new, and I'm happy. That makes me really happy. I've never liked Thanksgiving because it was about food and family, and I didn't like either of those things. And now that I'm with Ash, I like at least one. So that's my answer.
Cool beans. I'm glad for that on your behalf. You know.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Me too.
Okay.
Is it me going? Is it me asking you? Is that? I don't remember who starts. Okay, so this one's from good old Forths, and Forths asked, "I know you love it very much, but what is your greatest regret in opening up the lemur cave?"
Cute girl. Not really so much as regretting, I suppose. I mean, it's really done nothing but sustain me. I guess I regret not being chatting as much and not like presenting myself as much as I probably could. And but that goes beyond Lemur Cave. That's like with like FemFic, I haven't done the State of Lemur blogs, and I haven't been doing enough like stories on SSNE. I've been, you know, just writing Ofarodi and farting into Apple Dashery. But in general, one thing I guess I kind of regret, and this is not just Lemur Cave, this is maybe SSNE in general, is that I've more or less been Flanderized. It used to be that I was Flanderized and being, oh, he's the person who writes, yeah, Rainbow Dash flies over the purple mountain. But now it's like if you go on FemFix Discord chat and you control F my name, like, you know, somebody does habitually, then you discover that like all everyone ever says about me is like, oh, I'm a skirt salt, you're a skirt salt, everyone is a skirt salt, lol, he's a machine, he writes 1,000 words a day. I like to think that I've known better than just for being those, you know, base elements, but that's my own fault for not producing more content, I suppose. But no, I don't regret the Lemur Cave itself.
A lot of content. Are you kidding me?
I'm very happy for Lemur Cave and for the people who hang out there and for the family that's congregated not just over my stories but over each other. And that's, I think I get the feeling that Barcast is going to ask one of those questions like, what do you take the most from the fandom? And it's, well, the camaraderie and the culture that I've accumulated. And not to say that I own them or that I've gathered them myself, but I've graduated towards, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's basically Noble Jury 2.0, so I'm glad with that. It's the same people, really, and I shouldn't be calling it 2.0, I guess.
Well, there are some new faces. That's awesome. I love that. I think that's I feel like you are known for avoiding, I mean, in your stories, you've got a lot of heartfelt things and a lot of feelings that are portrayed, but in the real world, or I guess just in your the personality that you portray on the internet, you avoid that kind of stuff. So it's nice. It's really nice to hear, something as heartfelt as what you take away from it the most is the camaraderie. Because I know that's true, and it means a lot to all of us, and it's just fun that you're right there with us.
It's called being lazy.
Sure.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, coming out of your shell, that kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't until early this year I could publicly say I like dicks. Wait, what? Oh, no shit. Time for me to ask you a question.
Sure, I'm ready.
Let's see, pick something that's actually. We already talked about Australia Fact Checker and the Boxer, so there's that. That was Australia Fact Checker. God love him. Oh, here's one.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is again Force coming through with a vengeance. Podcast question for Ponky. Favorite Robo Gal?
Oh.
Wow. Immediately. This is like
I love Eve from Wall-E.
Who?
Eve.
Who?
Eva.
There you go.
That's right. Extraterrestrial vegetation evaluator, I think, is an acronym, which doesn't make any sense really because it is terrestrial. She is sent to Earth to evaluate the vegetation, but that's okay. It's a good acronym anyway.
Turns out she was programmed to evaluate the vegans, and there's no one to be found. Sorry, go on.
So she's just doing the next best thing. I love Eve for a lot of reasons, but mostly I'm so enamored with that movie in general. I just absolutely love Wall-E. And what I always say is that what I'm really touched by and what I love is the idea of robots being in love because they can't do anything. They don't have any pieces to mash together. They don't have any nerves. What they do have is this idea of love and the ability to connect and feel like they are in love. And there's something really pure about that to me. When we're talking about Eve and Wall-E, of course you can go into, there are robot girls that are specifically designed for sex and stuff like that. But when we're talking about Eve and Wall-E, they have directives and they go against them so that they can love each other.
They have what?
And they can be there for each other.
They have
directives. But I just love that. It makes me cry. It makes me feel. I think about it all the time. It kind of defines the relationships that I have and that I value. And something about that idea of being in love just for the sake of feeling that love for and from someone is so powerful, and I adore it. So definitely Eve. Eve's my answer for favorite RoboGal.
You gotta watch yourself some Star Trek, then you can believe that robots can have sex.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
What's that?
I think that's let me take a tally here. I think that's the 8,000th time that you've told me to watch Star Trek. So
maybe
I will get on that.
Well, I know that you're never going to watch wrestling, but then again, I would have told myself you never would have read Australia, so you never know.
Yeah.
So what's her name? Nebula? Is she like number 2 or something now?
I love Nebula. I wouldn't even call her a RoboGal though. Like I know that she is technically.
Okay. She's
but
an Eldritch robot, I think.
She's born a human and then is, or not a human, but born a 100% organic creature and then is later augmented into what she is today. And so I feel like what you start as is more important in that sense, in whether or not you can be called a RoboGirl. So since Eve was manufactured by probably other robots, she's still in the top slot. But I do love Nebula. She's an amazing character. Wow. Okay. I walked into that one.
Yes, you've walked, you've more like vertically slid into it. All right.
Wow.
What is
Nice.
why don't you
Nice.
pick a both question since that seems right?
Sure. Oh, this one's nice for October. A favorite creepy pasta type thing and why, from Zappinator.
Yes, fuck a Canuck. I love creepy shit. I don't
Yeah, you
really
do.
like, well, yeah, I don't really like gore. I mean, I write gore, but when I have to sit down to gore, it just, there's horror, but then there's just pure like legit dread, which is I think is what you get when you watch like something that's like body horror related,
Yeah.
which I think
Eraserhead.
is really nothing worse than that. So what's the point? So you gotta do some foreplay. You gotta do some like Sixth Sense shit. So that's why I dig like creepy pastas because they're kind of like riddles, but to creep you out. An example being. The ones that are they can do in a paragraph are usually the most fun because you can share them with people. Like shout out if you heard this one before. There's a hiker going through the woods. No, he's a hunter. A hunter going through the woods, and he's trying to find some game, and it's getting super late, and he hasn't found any deer or anything to shoot. The sun's setting. It's going to get very cold in the forest, so he wanders around until he finds his cabin. And the sun's like going behind the mountain. It's super dark. So he knocks on the door of the cabin and he says, "Hey, is there anybody in there?" And he doesn't get a response. Knocks again, still no response. So he sneaks into the cabin and it's all desolate except for like this one lone bed. And he's like, "Well, I can stay here for the night and keep warm." So he puts down his gun and his gear and he lies down on the bed. And it's, not that bad really. The only creepy thing about the cabin is all the portraits of like these people, just faces, like really pale faces with like dark sunken eyes just staring at him. He's like, well, that's weird. And so he goes to bed and he wakes up and the sun's out and lights shining on the cabin. And he realizes there are no portraits in the cabin, only windows. Yes, children, if you're indoctrinated by the Mormon church, you will be given your own theremin. So
let me think of.
You want to think of one?
No, I'm not thinking. My brain isn't fast enough to remember how the Twilight Zone, like what the monologue is at the beginning of every Twilight Zone thing. It's like you're about to enter another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound but of mind. You're about to enter a world of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just entered the Twilight Zone.
This is not a regular elevator. You've been to Disneyland before?
Yeah,
I feel like we
and
have.
I've been on the Tower of Terror that became the Twilight Zone thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it until like last year, I think, or early this year.
Super cool.
All the times
Super cool.
I finally got to do it, and for a ride that's like what, almost 20 years old, is still pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, it is. I remember that very fondly. I love that kind of stuff. I like creepy stuff. I like creepypastas. The one that I remember the best, and this isn't necessarily creepypasta, but it's that website that you sent me to very early in our friendship, where it looks like a comic, and as you're scrolling down, you get into the rhythm of reading this very Japanese style comic, and then all of a sudden it changes on you. Very.
Was that the Korean thing I sent you? Oh,
yes, God, that's exactly what it is.
Zappinator and I are both on board the whole creepy thing. It's one of the, we both love Applejack and we both share like creepy shit to each other. And I saw that thing a while back, and I remember sharing it with like Spotlight ages ago, and he was like pissed off at me, not because it was scary, but because it was loud and annoying. And so like a douchebag, I just had to send it to you. So it's a Flash comic, folks, and halfway through it, you realize it's an animated Flash comic, and you don't realize it is until you hear like the snapping of
yeah, exactly.
The neck of like this zombie creature looking at you, and then it does like a jump scare. Zap sent me like a vertical comic the other day that looked vaguely like animation. Like, this is a Korean Flash comic, horror comic, isn't it? He's like, you be? So I have a habit of linking really scary shit that I don't think traumatizes people, but hey, I'm an asshole, so I could be wrong.
It was
But I like that.
very scary, but it was fun. I liked it, and
Yeah,
I remembered it. Obviously, I remember it even today. I finished the comic even after that jump scare, and I actually think because then I mean, there's a lot of scary stuff you've shown me that I liked a lot. The only thing that I really never got on board with was Chez St. John. That stuff is horrendous. It's terrifying.
Fireboard. Kitty candy. Don't forget to feed the kitty. I love that. It's one of the best things on the fucking internet.
I know.
And the artist passed away years ago. He's no longer alive.
Oh, that is sad.
But just tapping into like the seedy underbelly of like Hollywood stage entertainment and performance art. Just not giving a fuck. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I don't think I'd ever move to LA, but something about LA just fascinates me about like the landscape in general.
And then you and I are both fans of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. That's a great series.
You introduced me to that, and I'm thankful for that because I would not have watched it otherwise. And
yeah, that's eerie. That's eerie stuff.
God, did he share it with? I think he shared it with me after he came back from the mission. I think because I'd always seen links to it. I'm like, yeah, what is this weird shit? And he shared it with me, and I'm like, this is too on the nose. I can't get into it, but then I appreciate it because it is so cryptic. You know, it doesn't quite shout out exactly what the meaning is. And
yeah,
and eventually I was linking to you to the new episodes.
Does a good job.
Mine is being creative.
Green is not a creative color. So let's do this. We've hit an hour.
We have.
Thanks, boss of 935, for letting me know. For letting us know.
Donate to our Patreon. We'll fuck a horse and film it. We'll call it Mr. Toes.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Do go ahead and donate to or be on Skirt's Patreon if you are so inclined. He makes great content very consistently. I think what we should do to kind of finish this off is I'll pick a question of my own to answer. You can pick a question of your own to answer.
Oh, sure.
And then and then we can do one more both, I guess, if there's one that's interesting. If not, we can just kind of wrap up.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'll go first. Lexicon asked me, where did the name Ecodalia come from? So
God, I hope you know the
this
answer.
question is in reference to The Daughter Do.
Right.
I've been writing The Daughter Do, which is a story just in a very similar vein to Through the Looking Glass and What Pinky Found There, because it's an addendum or a side story to the Sisters Do that helps the ending of the Sisters Do make more sense. I always planned on writing Daughter Do, and I never got around to it, and now I'm actually pretty close to done. I've only got a couple of chapters left. But the equivalent of Italy in my Sisters Do universe is called Italia, and that's or Italy, okay. And it's a stupid pun on Italy where you put the word tail in there because ponies.
I thought it was Bitterly. Bitterly.
Yeah, you could do Bitterly, but I always liked that Italy starts with an I.
All right.
And so to make it Bitterly always kind of bugged me. So I made it Italy, and then the word for tail in Italian is coda. And so I just replaced in this fake Italy, I replaced the word tail with the Italian word coda and came up with Ecodalia, which is because Italia is how you say Italy in Italy. So I know that's kind of confusing and it's weird, but in the end, it's just that I Italianized my own pun on the English word for Italy. So I know it's a little convoluted, but that was the origin of that. And I'm pretty proud of it, so I'm glad somebody noticed and asked. And that's my question. So you can go ahead and answer.
So
the question is to you.
Quite a few questions, actually, on the blog, all around the...
Oh, Lexicon, you're right there. Thanks, Lexicon. Thanks for asking that question.
I got a bunch of... questions all themed around the same thing. People are asking me, is the EOP summary dead? What about the EOP summary, the EOP spoiler cast? And I got to ask, what does that stand for? NY of panties?
I think it's ennui. I think you pronounce that ennui.
Endemic of pancreas, is that what it means?
Endemic, yeah. I think it's the epidemic of people. I think it's referring to the idea that people are the true cancer of the world.
Right.
Yeah. So I think they're asking you, when are you going to exact your plan to eradicate human beings from the earth?
Could be like epidermal of political layer, or
the epidermis of politicians.
Epidermis of politics. That would be a good one.
That is a good one.
What I would probably really enjoy would be entropy of princesses. That would be a good thing to make a spoiler cast about.
Ooh, that's nice. Yeah, yeah. Or the excitement of princesses, right?
That being said, if there was ever a need for a quote-unquote EOP podcast, it would definitely take more than an hour. It would probably take something in the ballpark of 3 fucking hours, and I'd have to read some old transcripts I have locked away on my hard drive about the nature of the plot line and the story, and because there's a lot of stuff I kind of forgotten because it's been a long while, and I'm having to go back and refresh my memory, because it used to be I'd have so much of it just kind of locked away in my head, and it sounds very selfish, but I feel like if I'm doing it, I probably wouldn't want to have people legitimately interested joining me on the podcast so they can make comments about it and maybe remind me of stuff that I've forgotten. And I know that I spoiled props about it. Excuse me. I know I don't know how much I told you about it.
Almost nothing.
Prismic and
even if you did tell me things, I'm pretty sure I've forgotten because I care so little about that terrible story.
Excitement of princesses. Thank you, props. That would, oh boy, that's one I probably do with Drace. The piercing sight. And then Prismic also know about the ending of it. Piercing Sight is the first person I told about years ago, because guess what? He was going on a mission to Brazil. He was going to be gone in 2 years. I'll be done with EOP by the time you're back. Let me spoil it for you. And oops, oh boy. So I don't know. I feel like maybe if I can get 2 people willing to slog through a 3-hour like confessional or something of just here's how it's going to end, and listen to me.
You definitely have an audience for that, man. People are crazy about
super disappointed about it. But that's something I have to set up, and again, people have to be willing to basically indulge me.
Well, I would be absolutely delighted to do that on this podcast if that's something you're interested in the future.
As in not tonight, the podcast.
Not tonight. Yes, exactly. This format, and I could provide sort of an outsider's perspective on this, and kind of facilitate the questions that come in as you're just rambling and remembering. I could be reading the questions that come in, or the reminders, or the specific things like, well, what about this character or this arc? And that could be a fun way to do it.
Although we just did, vocal diarrhea for about an hour, I can't promise we're in any position to pretentiously assume we're ready to do stuff. But hey, having like guests in the future, or like, hey, let's bring on.
You and I both know we're pretentious as all get out.
Ponky, I got Saddle Soap Opera for you, or something like that. Oh shit! It's like, hey, Skirts, you ever heard of Colton Gardez? Oh my fucking god!
Yes, Colton Gardez. What a hero. What a true hero. Okay, well, I think that this is where we're going to cap it.
Should we?
And my idea, I would love to do this again. I think this was fun. I loved seeing people's reactions. I love talking with you. And I think next time we can start right up with one of these questions, which was, how do you 2 know each other? I think it would be fun to kind of base an entire podcast just about our story from our 2 sides, and sort of building on the lore of what exactly happened. Does that sound interesting?
History of skirts punk. It could work. Maybe like a double punkology.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun to do a podcast where we just kind of recall on the fly how exactly it happened.
Episode 3: Dick sizes.
We're getting there, folks. Thank you so much for doing that.